Only 0.003 of a second decided pole between the hottest rivals on the grid. So let's make a complete breakdown of those laps and try to find those 0.003 of a second and analyze a huge difference in driving styles of two greatest drivers. So Verstappen, Hamilton, they start the lap. We are on the first and the longest straight approaching the first corner, and we see Verstappen braking earlier than Hamilton. No surprise, here Verstappen is an early braker. Lewis Hamilton, on the other side, is a proper late braker. It is the main feature of his driving style. So this difference is actually surprisingly low. They brake, they turn in, and we see small correction from Max Verstappen. He already has an oversteer on entrance, despite Lewis Hamilton being faster. I guess that Red Bull balance was too oversteering, even for Max Verstappen with this low fuel load. They both do not touch the apex, and we see already Hamilton being a bit ahead, but their exits of the corner are pretty similar, so all the difference is done on braking and on the first phase of a corner. We move on, second straight, DRS wide open, as they say, and we approach braking. We see them braking at exact same moment, but right now Lewis is actually ahead, so once again Lewis brakes later than Max. Now, check the corner lines. Max is doing sort of an early apex, and he's actually better sticking to the race trajectory because he's closer to the apex than Lewis. Lewis sort of falls off a little bit, and we will see a result of it. Lewis going a bit off the rubber and having a slight oversteer in a corner exit. They exit the corner, and here we see a huge difference between Max and Lewis in the track usage. Max is being way wider than Lewis on exit, and this one is actually one of the main features of Max Verstappen's driving style. He tries to use 100% of a track, and he opens his line a little bit wider before turn 3, and here we approach the end of the first sector, and we see a difference of 13,000ths of a second in favor of Hamilton. Tiny little difference, and once again we see that Lewis will brake later, and this point will actually be the entry point for Lewis. So he will engage on the brakes and turn the wheel at the same time, while Max Verstappen is already braking, but his wheel is still straight. And we saw quite different pedal work from both drivers, but actually Max managed to be faster. In turn 4, he is already a bit ahead, but once again he will brake earlier than Lewis Hamilton. Lewis is a master of braking as late as possible, bringing in as much speed as possible and not losing too much on the exit. And here we see what actually happens, because he manages to bring in more speed with him, and we see both drivers tiptoeing the pedals in the middle section of this long turn 5. So they exit the corner, and we see Max still being a bit ahead of Lewis, but not as ahead as he was in the entry, so turn 5 went in favor of Hamilton. And we approach the next braking zone. Here we face quite an intense braking. Once again Lewis will brake later. They brake, they go in, and despite Max Verstappen braking earlier, which means that he has a higher potential of a proper weight distribution and balancing the car with smoother braking, he still faces some oversteer. While Mercedes is like on the railways, no understeer, no oversteer, and 10 km/h speed advantage. So he's already a bit ahead, despite the fact that he was losing in the beginning of the braking. But also this small correction with the steering wheel by Max Verstappen may be caused by him just entering the corner too early and being afraid to jump on this curb. We move on, first apex, second apex. Now we see Lewis is still ahead, but Max is more aggressive. He is already engaging more on his throttle, so he will have an advantage on the exit of the corner. Now, once again, they brake at the exact same moment. The braking points coincide with the entry points, but once again Lewis is a bit ahead of Max. So once again, like in every corner, he brakes later. And here starts pretty fast section of the corners. We see huge difference in pedal work. And previously I didn't notice Hamilton of abusing this two pedals technique. So it might actually be a reason of his progress in speed lately. So we go on. Once again, very different pedal work. Max Verstappen is engaging on the brakes when car switches direction and redistributes its weight balance, while Lewis on the other side is still on the throttle. So Max tries to load his front axle more, while Lewis tries to leave as much weight on the rear axle as possible. They enter the corner. And here we see actually a small mistake from Lewis. He goes too wide here, and this line is a bit suboptimal because you have to open up the corner to make a smoother line throughout the next corner. And Max will gain an advantage out of it. And here this long right-hander, very fast corner, turn 11, the same pattern as throughout the whole fast section. They exit the corner. Here we have the end of second sector, and we see on our shots and on the results then Max gained 0.08 of a second over Lewis Hamilton, so he actually has an advantage going into the last sector. But will it be enough? They approach turn 12, right now we see a huge difference. 20, maybe 30 meters difference in braking points. Actually the largest difference of a whole lap. Smooth approach by Max Verstappen on a braking, and Hamilton just slamming the brakes as late as possible and still managing to keep the car under control and have an advantage on an entry speed. So they touch the apexes quite nicely. Once again, like in every corner, Hamilton braking way later. And we can visually see the difference in speed, in entry speed. The difference on the telemetry is more than 10 km per hour. And Lewis brought in too much speed. This time with him, he starts losing control over the car, he has to make correction. So he went a bit over the edge of traction. But I still bet that this corner was faster than Max's corner. We see Lewis exiting a bit wider than Max Verstappen, but nothing pretty critical, and at this point it looks like they are on par in terms of track positioning. So the last corner will decide everything. Turn 14 and the whole entrance is actually a pretty difficult corner to judge the braking, right? In order to slow car enough to make the corner, but not too much because the corner is pretty long. You don't want to lose any minimal speed throughout it. And we see Lewis going pretty crazy here. He still holds his throttle while braking. He even has to correct the car, but he doesn't go off the throttle. Yes, he lost sometimes here, but Verstappen also had a small correction, so he also had an oversteer here. The finish of a lap. And we shall never see a 0.003 of a second difference on a video. It is not possible. So in terms of video we are even. In terms of times, top class driving from two legends and a great showcase of difference in their driving style. In all the corners, in all the braking zones, Lewis was braking later than Max Verstappen. Different lines were chosen in some corners, different steering approach and of course different cars. Thank you very much for your view, stay tuned, leave a like, subscribe to the channel and share feedback in the comments. See you soon.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey.